Clara had always imagined marriage as something that would grow deeper with time. 8 years with Ethan had brought her comfort and stability. But lately, their home felt quiet, too quiet. The laughter that once filled their small house in Portland had faded into background noise of routine. Ethan left early for work, came home tired, and spent his evenings checking emails. Clara told herself it was normal that every marriage had seasons. But deep down, she missed the way he used to look at her like she was the center of his world. It was a gray. Thursday afternoon when she met Lily for coffee. Lily had been her closest friend since college, spontaneous, full of energy, and everything Clara wasn't anymore. While Clara lived a steady life of schedules and lists, Lily lived in the moment. She worked as a photographer, traveled often, and never seemed weighed down by anything. Watching her laugh so easily made Clara feel both comforted and a little envious. They sat by the window of a small cafe, steam fogging up the glass as rain tapped softly outside. Clara stirred her coffee slowly and sighed. "I think Ethan and I are just stuck," she said quietly. "He's not doing anything wrong. He's just not really there anymore." Lily leaned forward, her voice warm. "You both need something different. Something to shake up the routine. Why not plan a night for him? Cook dinner, dress up, do something unexpected." Clara smiled faintly. "He'd probably just ask what the occasion is, then make it one," Lily said, grinning. "Tell him it's just for fun. And hey, invite me. I'll help you cook. We'll make it a little celebration." Sounded harmless, a light-hearted evening with friends. Clara agreed, not knowing that this simple suggestion would change more than just her mood. Friday evening arrived with the scent of rain and the soft glow of string lights Clara had hung across the kitchen window. She wore a soft blue dress she hadn't touched in years. Lily arrived just as Clara was setting the table, carrying a bottle of red wine and her usual lively energy. "Wow," she said, looking around the room. "You actually made this place romantic." Clara laughed, feeling a mix of pride and nerves. "It's been a while since I tried." When Ethan came home, he looked surprised to see both women there, the table glowing with candles. "What's all this?" he asked, setting down his briefcase. "A little dinner," Clara said, smiling. "Lily helped me." The three of them sat together, sharing food and easy conversation. At first, it was just laughter and stories from college days. Lily had a natural way of drawing people out. Even Ethan, who usually kept to himself, was smiling more than Clara had seen in months. He asked about her travels, her photography, and she answered with her usual sparkle. Clara watched them, happy to see Ethan relaxed again. But as she listened to Lily's voice and the rhythm of their laughter, she felt something else, a quiet pull inside her, something she didn't recognize. It wasn't jealousy, but it wasn't comfort either. It was curiosity mixed with a strange warmth that made her heart beat faster. Later, when Ethan went to get dessert from the kitchen, Lily leaned closer to Clara and whispered, "He's a good man, you know? You two are lucky to have each other." Clara smiled, though her chest tightened. "We used to be closer. Life just got busy." Lily tilted her head, her expression soft. "Maybe tonight's the start of getting that back." When Ethan returned, the moment broke. They spent the rest of the night talking about old memories and dreams they'd forgotten. But as Clara cleared the table later, her thoughts weren't on the dinner's success. She kept replaying the way Lily had looked at her. Not flirtatious, not obvious, but kind, curious, and somehow. When Lily stood to leave, she hugged Clara tightly. "That was lovely," she said. "Let's do it again soon." Clara nodded, feeling her heart beat in her throat. Yes, soon. After she closed the door, Clara leaned against it for a moment. The house was quiet again. Ethan had gone upstairs. The candles were nearly out, but something inside her still glowed. She walked to the window and watched Lily's car pull away. The night felt heavy with something new, something unnamed. It wasn't guilt, exactly. It was a question, a spark of something she hadn't expected to feel for anyone, especially not her friend. Clara turned off the lights, her mind spinning. She told herself it was nothing, just the thrill of having company, of feeling alive again. But when she lay in bed beside Ethan, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lily smile, heard her laugh, and felt the warmth of that brief touch on her hand. For the first time in a long while, Clara didn't feel invisible. And that scared her more than she wanted to admit. A week after that dinner, Clara couldn't stop thinking about it. She told herself it was silly, that she was just happy things had felt lighter for once. But when Lily texted dinner round 2, Clara felt her heart skip in a way it hadn't in years. She typed back before she could second guess it. Yes, come over Friday. That evening, Ethan was already looking forward to it. He said Lily made the house feel alive, and Clara couldn't argue. Lily arrived carrying takeout and laughter, wearing her usual casual charm jeans, a loose sweater, and confidence that seemed to fill the room. They talked about travel, about small dreams, and about everything in between. For the first time in a long while, Ethan smiled without forcing it. Clara watched him, grateful, but her eyes kept drifting. Toward Lily, it wasn't about attraction at first. It was something subtler, the way Lily listened. She noticed things. When Clara spoke, Lily didn't check her phone or look away. Her eyes stayed fixed, kind, curious. That attention felt almost foreign. Over the next few weeks, their dinners became a quiet ritual. Sometimes Ethan joined. Sometimes it was just the two of them, laughing over wine while music played softly in the background. Lily would tease Clara for being too serious, and Clara would roll her eyes but secretly loved the teasing. It reminded her of how she used to be lighter, freer. Before life got filled with lists and responsibilities, one Thursday, Ethan called to say he'd be working late. Lily, who was already planning to drop by, told Clara not to cancel. "We can still have dinner. I'll bring dessert." Clara hesitated but agreed. That night the rain returned, tapping gently against the windows. Lily arrived carrying a box of chocolate cake and 2 cups of coffee. The house felt quieter than usual, but not in a bad way. They ate at the kitchen counter instead of the dining table, laughing about small things, an embarrassing story from college, a broken photo shoot, a memory that made Lily's eyes light up. After a while, the laughter faded into a comfortable silence. Lily looked around and said softly, "You know, your house feels like a pause button, peaceful but kind of lonely." Clara tilted her head. "I guess it's just quiet. Ethan's been busy." Lily nodded, her tone gentle. "You've been trying so hard to keep everything okay. But when's the last time you felt okay?" The question caught Clara off guard. She tried to laugh it off. "I'm fine. Just tired." But Lily didn't look convinced. "You don't have to say that all the time, you know?" Something in Clara's chest shifted. It wasn't pity she saw in Lily's eyes. It was understanding. That simple moment, that shared silence, felt more intimate than anything she'd had in months. Ethan came home late that night, smelling of rain and exhaustion. He smiled when he saw Lily. "You're saving my wife from boredom again," he joked. Lily grinned. Someone has to keep her company. After she left, Ethan kissed Clara's forehead and went to bed almost immediately. Clara stood in the hallway for a while, still hearing Lily's laughter echo in her mind. It wasn't wrong, she told herself. Lily was a friend. But the warmth she felt that spark didn't fade. The next morning, Lily texted, "Thanks for last night. You seemed more like you again." Clara smiled at her phone, feeling an unexpected flutter in her chest. Days turned into weeks. Their connection deepened quietly, in small moments, a shared smile, a thoughtful message. A conversation that stretched past midnight. It wasn't just friendship anymore. But neither of them dared to call it something else. One Saturday, they went shopping together. It was supposed to be quick, just groceries, but they ended up spending hours walking through the city. Lily pointed out art galleries, tiny bookstores, and cafes hidden down quiet streets. Clara laughed more that day than she had in months. When Lily reached for her hand to cross the street, Clara didn't pull away. The touch was brief, casual, but it sent a current through her that stayed long after. That night, Ethan noticed her mood. "You seem happier lately," he said, pouring himself a drink. Clara smiled faintly. "Maybe I just needed a little change." He nodded, not realizing what that change really was. A few days later, Lily came over again, this time helping Clara rearrange the living room. They played music, moving furniture, and laughing at their own clumsiness. When the last box was set aside, they collapsed on the couch, tired but happy. Lily looked around the room. Feels different now, doesn't it? Yeah, Clara said quietly. Brighter. Lily smiled. You're starting to look brighter, too. The words hung in the air. Clara met her gaze, feeling that same quiet spark, the kind that doesn't announce itself, just lingers softly, waiting. That night, after Lily left, Clara stood by the window again, watching her car disappear into the darkness. The streetlights blurred through the drizzle, and a reflection stared back, thoughtful, confused, alive. She didn't know what to make of it yet, but she couldn't deny it anymore. The rain had been falling since morning, steady and calm, washing the streets of Portland in silver light. Ethan was away on a short business trip, and the house felt unusually quiet. Clara had planned to spend the weekend catching up on chores, but when Lily texted, "I'm bringing soup and movies," you can't say no. She didn't. She needed the company. Though she couldn't admit that out loud by evening. Lily was at the door, hair damp from the rain, holding a bag of takeout and 2 steaming cups of coffee. "You look like you need a night off," she said, smiling as she stepped inside. Clara laughed softly. "I think I forgot what that feels like." They settled on the couch, a soft blanket draped over their legs, watching an old romantic movie that Lily insisted was good for the soul. At first they joked about the predictable plot, but as the story played to people rediscovering love after years of distance, Clara grew quiet. The movie mirrored pieces of her life she hadn't said out loud. When the credits finally rolled, neither of them moved. The room was filled with the soft hum of rain and unspoken thoughts. Lily turned to her. "You've been carrying a lot, haven't you?" Clara looked down, picking at the edge of the blanket. "I guess I just learned how to survive without feeling too much. It's easier that way." Lily's voice softened. "Easier doesn't mean happier." Those words sank into Clara's heart, like rain soaking into dry ground. She didn't respond. She just looked at Lily, realizing how deeply this woman understood her without judgment. Without expecting anything in return. It wasn't the same kind of love she once chased. It was quieter, safer, yet somehow more powerful. They talked for hours about dreams, fears, regrets. Clara told Lily how she used to paint before life got too busy. How she once wanted to travel the world. How she sometimes missed the woman she used to be. Lily listened with full attention, her eyes steady and kind. "You could still find her. You know," she said softly. "She's not gone. She's just waiting for you to remember her." Something inside Clara broke open then. Not painfully, but like a door she didn't know was locked. She smiled through quiet tears. "You make it sound simple." "It's not simple," Lily said gently. "But it's possible." Clara felt an ache, a mix of gratitude and longing. This connection wasn't about romance in the usual sense. It was about being seen, being known. It was something deeper, something she didn't have a name for. As the night grew late, Lily leaned back, closing her eyes. "You know what I envy about you?" she said quietly. "You love with your whole heart, even when it hurts. I wish I could do that." Clara looked at her, surprised. "You think I do that?" Lily smiled faintly. "I know you do." The words hung between them, warm and heavy. Clara's heart raced. For a moment, the world outside disappeared, only the sound of rain. The soft glow of the lamp and the closeness between them remained. She didn't know what she was supposed to feel. Only that she didn't want the night to end. She stood up to clear the table, but Lily caught her wrist gently. "Clara," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to hide from what you feel. Not with me." Clara froze. Her breath caught. She wasn't sure what Lily meant, but her heart already understood. She met her friend's eyes. There was no judgment there, only calm understanding. It wasn't about crossing lines or breaking rules. It was about acknowledging something that had quietly grown between them. "I didn't mean for this to happen," Clara said softly. Lily nodded. "Maybe it was never about meaning to. Maybe it's about needing to." The honesty in her voice was disarming. Clara didn't know whether to cry or laugh. She felt overwhelmed, not by guilt, but by clarity. For so long, she had been living in quiet numbness. Now, for the first time in years, she felt alive. They didn't talk much after that. They sat side by side, just listening to the rain. It wasn't romantic in a traditional way, but it was intimate, two souls sitting in truth. When Lily finally stood to leave, Clara walked her to the door. The air was cool and fresh, the rain finally slowing. "Thank you for tonight," Clara said quietly, "for listening." "Always," Lily replied, smiling gently. "Just don't lose yourself again." Clara watched her walk away, headlights disappearing into the night. The door closed, but the warmth lingered. She stood there for a while, her heart full of questions she couldn't yet answer. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed their conversations, the softness in Lily's voice, the way she felt seen for the first time in years. It wasn't about desire or rebellion. It was about awakening, realizing that something inside her had been asleep. The next morning, Clara stood at the kitchen window, coffee in hand, watching the sky brighten after the storm. She thought about Ethan, about the years they'd shared, the quiet comfort and the growing distance. She still loved him in her own way, but that love had changed. It was more habit than heartbeat. She felt torn, loyal to the life she had, yet drawn to the person she was becoming. Lily wasn't the cause of her confusion. She was the mirror reflecting it. Through her, Clara saw everything she had buried, her strength, her emotions, her longing to feel alive again. Later that day, Ethan called from his hotel. "How's your night?" he asked, cheerful and unaware. "It was good," Clara said simply, her voice calm but thoughtful. When she hung up, she didn't feel guilt. She felt truth. It was quiet, heavy, but real. Over the next few days, Clara tried to distract herself. Errands, chores, plans. But Lily's presence lingered like a shadow in her thoughts. She realized she missed not just Lily, but how Lily made her feel. Free, curious seen. The morning light fell softly through the curtains, touching the quiet corners of the house. Clara sat at the kitchen table, a cold cup of coffee in her hands. The weekend with Lily had changed something she couldn't ignore. There was no sudden confession, no grand gesture. Just a feeling, clear and steady, that she could no longer live half awake. Ethan returned from his trip that evening, smiling, talking about meetings and plans. Unaware of the storm that had been growing inside her heart, Clara listened, nodding at the right moments, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Every word he spoke reminded her how much distance had grown between them, not physical distance, but something deeper, something unspoken. When he touched her hand, she felt the kindness, but not the spark. And for the first time, she admitted to herself that maybe love wasn't enough when it stopped growing that night. After Ethan went to bed, Clara walked out to the porch. The air was cool and the city was quiet. She thought of Lily, her laughter, her warmth, her honesty. She wasn't in love with Lily the way one falls in love in stories. It wasn't about fantasy or escape. It was about truth. Lily had shown her what it meant to be seen, to be understood, to feel alive again. Clara knew she couldn't turn that awareness off now. Days passed and Clara tried to return to normal. She cooked dinner, went to work, talked to Ethan, but everything felt different. She noticed the small silences, the careful smiles, the routines that once felt safe but now seemed hollow. One evening, as she folded laundry, Ethan asked, "Is something wrong? You've been distant lately." She froze for a moment, then said softly, "I think something's changed." He looked at her, confused. "Changed how?" Clara took a deep breath. "I don't know how to explain it without hurting you. I don't feel like myself anymore. I've been trying so hard to be the same wife, the same person, but I'm not. I don't even know when it started, but I feel lost." Ethan's expression softened. "Did I do something?" She shook her head. "No, you didn't do anything. That's the hardest part. You've been good to me. But somewhere along the way, I forgot who I am." He leaned back in his chair, quiet for a long moment. "Is there someone else?" The question hung between them like a storm waiting to break. Clara hesitated, her throat tight. "Not the way you think," she said finally. "There's a friend. She's helped me see parts of myself I'd forgotten. It's not about her, not exactly. It's about me realizing I can't keep pretending I'm fine." Ethan didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He just sat there, hurt but calm, trying to understand. "So, what does this mean for us?" Clara wiped a tear from her cheek. "It means we need space. I need to figure out who I am without pretending. I owe you honesty, and I owe myself the same." The silence that followed wasn't angry. It was heavy, filled with things neither of them could say. Ethan nodded slowly. "I guess we both stopped noticing when things changed." They talked for hours, quietly, honestly. For the first time in years, they really listened to each other. By the time dawn touched the sky, they had agreed to take some time apart. Not as enemies, but as two people who once loved each other deeply and wanted to do what was right, even if it meant letting go. When Ethan left for work that morning, Clara felt both empty and free. She spent the rest of the day cleaning the house, sorting through memories, photographs, letters, little keepsakes from a life built with care. There was sadness, but also peace. That evening, she walked to the park where she and Lily often met for coffee. Lily was already there, sitting on a bench, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and rose. When Clara sat beside her, neither spoke for a while. The air between them was soft, filled with understanding. Lily finally said, "You talked to him." Clara nodded. "I did. It wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do." Lily looked at her, eyes gentle. "Are you okay?" Clara smiled faintly. "I don't know yet, but it